Welcome to the InFlow Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I see a gaping hole across society that focuses on the outer work and forgets about the inner work, when what we really need is to bridge the gap between prosperity and spirituality to live a life in flow, with inflows of light, inflows of cash, inflows of creativity, inflows of grace in our lives. Each week, join me for powerful messages and interviews that will leave you inspired and ready to step into flow in your higher work. So now, let's go. Welcome. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch. I'm excited to come to you guys today again with another episode. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about, are you in the gap or in the flow? Are you in the gap or in the gain? And I want to illustrate basically this concept of being either in the gap or in the gain or in flow with a story, from my family. Last weekend, the entire family kind of decided that we, had it with Phoenix. We had a crazy, busy, intense month of October, and we wanted to go be in nature, be away from our devices, and just really recharge and restore. So we packed up the family, including the dog, Daisy the dog, and we headed up north to Sedona, Arizona. Sedona, by the way, if you have never been, it's one of those places that your eyes have to see at least once in your lifetime, and you have to experience it. It's an absolutely gorgeous part and city here in northern Arizona. Beautiful energy, beautiful landscape, amazing hiking trails, and just all around quaint with a lot of shops and beautiful stores, and also, of course, the beauty of the high desert and the hiking trails and the red rocks and the red mountains and the red earth. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, so we decided to go up north and just, slow down. I definitely needed that, to kind of like bring me down from this high speed train of thoughts that were going constantly through my mind, and really get in touch with a more natural, I would say, tempo and a slower rhythm, that only you can, I think, find in nature. And on our way back, actually, from Sedona, we all of a sudden, out of nowhere, our daughter, Sophia, who's now 14, says to us, hey, guys, you guys said that there is a prison somewhere here, close to this, to this outlet mall area, which is in the outskirts of the city of Phoenix. So as you're heading south on Interstate I-17, coming from Sedona, there's all of this new development. And it's filled basically with commercial space, with large multifamily, with a lot of warehousing, and it's just developed. And very interesting to me was, number one, that on the way north, we had mentioned that, when we were heading out of town and into Sedona, we had mentioned that, and she was paying attention. So kids are always paying attention, number one. Very important lesson for us as parents to recognize that even when we think that they're being tuned off or tuned out, they're tuning us out. They really aren't. I was interested that she wanted to see the prison for some reason anyways. And she was just genuinely interested basically in just as we were driving, seeing how the buildings and how people were okay, with being in an apartment that was perhaps less than half a mile away in her mind from a dangerous place, such as a prison. And what really hit me is that as we were telling her, how we had seen it when we first drove into Phoenix back in 1999, there was her little face filled up with an immense appreciation. And I think it was because of how we were telling the story. So back in 1999, it was July. I remember July 29th or 30th. I cannot even remember exactly the day, but it was one of those last few days in July. We're driving from Chicago, Illinois, where we, had actually met and worked for some time with Jack. We actually went to school also in Illinois, about 3 hours southwest of Chicago. And, we were on our drive to Phoenix, Arizona, because I had been admitted and I had been, accepted at Thunderbird School of Graduate School of International Management here in Phoenix. And what we were telling her is that we were driving in two cars. I was driving my little Geo Prism, a white Geo Prism, 4 doors. My mom was in the passenger seat. I was basically carrying the bulk of all of our clothes and suitcases with our clothes and shoes and stuff and a few boxes. And then Jack was in his car carrying, pretty much transporting the remainder of our belongings, which really what he had was boxes full with a few pots, some dishes, bed linens, and things that we had accumulated also, throughout the years that we had lived out in Illinois. And then, Jack was describing to Sophia how in his passenger seat, he didn't have anyone. But what he had was this old TV, like old TV. I'm saying old now by our standards, because it was one of the ones where you actually still had to get up and actually, change the channel by actually getting up, not with a remote control. And that TV that Jack was carrying, this big box, heavy box, was had actually been struck by lightning. And as we are telling Sophia how broke we were as we were, driving and doing that exact same stretch of interstate, heading south on I-17, and how there was absolutely nothing there but the prison, which, by the way, we passed the prison as we were telling the story. She was amazed that, there were so many residential dwellings in close vicinity, and that the city has pretty much grown into all this area that in the past, just some 20 something years ago used to be really the outskirts of the city, and nothing was there, So as we were continuing the story, I could see Sophia, just filled with appreciation, her eyes really going wide open, and her little face really lighting up with appreciation of seeing how we had, come and entered into the city with absolutely pretty much nothing, because that's nothing. Like I said, the TV was our most expensive possession, and the TV had even been struck by lightning. Jack had to send it back to Walmart because that's where he bought it, and had and it had still some kind of a manufacturer's warranty, and he was able to get it repaired. And as a result, we weren't going to leave it behind. It was working just fine, so he decided to pack it, and that was his company on the passenger seat on a drive, back from Chicago, Illinois, which was a couple of days. We took our time. Each of those days were like 13, 14, 15-hour days. I remember on the second day, which was almost 15 hours, when we got off out of the car, I could still feel the movement of the car. I laid down in bed in the hotel. We were in a tiny little Hampton Inn on I-17, where we checked in for a couple of days while we were looking for an apartment that was close to my university. And then just showing Sophia basically even where we had stayed, and again, her realizing how far we've come, and the appreciation that she had for us and for what we had accomplished so far, made me also appreciate, the gain that we have made and the strides and how far we've come since that very first, time driving south on Interstate 17, and with absolutely nothing, and now seeing her recognize and appreciate now that she was, driving a luxury, car, and heading to an amazing 7,000 square foot home on an acre here in Paradise Valley. And she hears, that we run 3 businesses. she hears about the real estate that gets bought and sold. She hears about the real estate that is bought and held, in our portfolio. And like I said, it made me also appreciate our gains. And I think that is something that seldom investors, entrepreneurs, leaders do. And that is measuring ourselves against our starting point, looking and reflecting on our past with gratitude and filling ourselves up so that the future growth that we're always, I would say, chasing feels sweeter. And that also allows us to really appreciate the moment, appreciate the now, and not diminish our present. I think that even though the Declaration of Independence was written by Jefferson, and somewhere in there it says, the something along the lines of the pursuit of happiness. Life. I can't remember exactly saying. I think it says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And even though you might think that that is something that defines American psychology, I want to say that it's not necessarily something American. I think this is a very human thing that we all tend to measure ourselves against a moving future. I want to say a goal that is in the future, that is always moving, that is the ideal. Yeah. And I think this little phrase in the Declaration of Independence almost would want to make you think that Americans have been almost like trained to feel that happiness is not possible now. And I think it is possible now. And I want to say that it's not just Americans. I think it's the entire world. We're all constantly trained since we're little, to be looking out into the future, to be anticipating the future, to be, setting goals, to be looking forward to a bigger, better, possibility in the future. And that is wonderful. And that is part of growing. That's part of leadership, is stepping and time traveling into the future and coming back and letting everyone else know, whether it be on your team or on your family, what you see in the future and the possibilities you see. I mean, this is how the entire human race really finds progress. It's from dreaming, it's from envisioning yourself in the future, and there's nothing wrong with that, absolutely not. But what I want to say is that if we're constantly always looking and measuring ourselves against that future, that changes. Because I think for all of us, I would say it's a similar, again, human experience. The fact that when we get to a goal, the next goal shows up, and we want to continue moving and pushing that, that future goal out into the horizon, and it keeps on moving and moving and moving. And it's something that we never really get to say, okay, this is the final destination, because I think anyone that says that is walking dead alive. We all want to make progress. I mean, that's part of the happiness. But what I want to say is that if you're constantly measuring yourself against what you don't have, or your shortcomings, or how far away you are from that future goal, it's a recipe for constantly not living in the present and not feeling happy now. So are you, as an entrepreneur, as an investor, as a leader of your family, in the gap or in the gain? And that's pretty much, the question, that I had for all of you here, watching or listening, is it's that concept of, again, not measuring ourselves against that moving future, but measuring ourselves against where we are right now and how far we've come, and using that as fuel to really, fill ourselves up and our hearts up with gratitude for all the things that we've done, for the person that we've become. And from that place of happiness, of not diminishing our present moment, going out there and thinking about our future growth and thinking about our future plans. And if you're already actually thinking about, what 2022 is going to have in store for you. We do have right now December 10th through the 11th or through the 12th. It's a 3-day. So December 10th through the 12th, our 3-day virtual boot camp that is coming up. And if you would like to register, that is, I think, available at landflippinglive.com, www.landflippinglive.com. And I hope that as you right now gather together with family, start thinking about, the future goals, what 2022 has in store for you and your family, that you take a moment to reflect, to look back and look at all the gains and measure yourself against the gains and fill yourself up with appreciation for the confidence, for the capabilities that you have gained, for the skill sets that you have gained, for the courage, for the resilience, and fill yourself up with all of those, and gratitude for all the relationships, all the people that you have made that in one way or the other have sculpted you into the person that you have become. And then from that place, let's look at where we want to go, what the future visions it is that we have, for ourselves and our family are. And instead of measuring ourselves always from starting at where you're at right now and looking at the gap of the future and feeling unhappy about where we are right now. Let's all be happy now. And I want to honor you and thank you and express my immense gratitude for tuning in every single week, for allowing me and our entire team to come into your world, because it requires a team to bring this to all of you, to come into your world and share with you my experiences, my insights, experiences of thought leaders, of other amazing women as well that are doing amazing things in real estate. And thank you for an amazing year, like I said earlier, for really letting us into your into your world, into your space, into your head, into your dreams. And I'm grateful beyond belief. So thank you so very much. And I look forward to spending more time with you on a future episode of the podcast. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to get inflows of cash, inflows of light, and inflows of faith in your life. I welcome your reviews on iTunes. Please leave me a review and help me create an amazing community of women in flow. Thank you, as always, for sharing your voice by going to michellebosch.com and joining the conversation about this show. And while you're there, grab a copy of my 10 Commandments to Living a Life in Flow. You can also follow me on Facebook at Michelle Bosch and on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. Thank you very much, and until the next one.